And we are
live. Yeah.
Lipson. That's not even the right effect. Dang it. And let's try it again. And we are
Let's get it.
Welcome,
I
everybody.
gotta be honest, I was kind of hoping that it would be a chipmunk again.
Well, dude, I can I can't do a chipmunk, but I can do the we are.
Let's get it.
We can do that.
Oh, bro.
What jersey is that?
That is, of course. Oh, of course. I got Super Bowl champion Matthew Stafford's jersey on tonight, of course. NFL season's back, and also the Lions are back this week. So gotta represent.
Let's go.
Stafford's looking a little rocky now, but hey, I tell you, this Bills defense is insane.
Yeah, 100%.
Anybody playing them this season?
Yeah, but you know who else looks insane? Us, because this is Woodward Pistons Table Talk, where each and every week we come and break down everything that's going on in the world of Detroit basketball, Detroit sports, and the Detroit culture in general. If you like that, man, be sure that you're liking this, subscribing to the channel, but also following all of the special creators we have on this screen right now. Now, you might be asking yourself, hey, Sean, who are some of those really talented, good-looking creators that I'm seeing right now? And I can tell you, first to my left is my war general, my man, the head of Woodward Pistons, my God, Detroit Kool-Aid. Always good to see you, my friend.
That, brother.
Always love seeing you every Thursday. Of course, to my right, I got one of the best editors in the game, one of the rising up and coming editors and creators on Twitter and Pistons Twitter, Carl Collins at Carl Collins Prod. Now, Carl, we do got to say, a couple days ago, you dropped your first teaser of the Detroit Pistons hype trailer that will be coming out this season. Now, I don't know if the music on there is actually something that we can play for copyright purposes. However, I do think we got to at least look at the 13 seconds that Carl threw out there just from like the visual standpoint, because man, like if this is just like a small taste of what we got going on, then we have a pretty freaking awesome trailer coming out. So with that, man, real quick before I introduce everyone else, here's our short little preview, man. Carl, how you feeling about this video, brother? Man, we don't want sound.
I'm pretty excited about it, to be honest. It was a lot of fun. I'm still not done with it. It's coming out in a few weeks, but it's been a lot of fun, actually. And
so good.
This doesn't do it full justice. Be sure you go to Carl's Twitter, follow him on there if you don't already. It's a really good clip. And if it's anything like your Lions hype up video, which I know I've talked about a few times, but oh my Lord, that gave me chills. But in addition, we are also joined by one of our regulars here, Steve of Detroit Bad Boys, my friend, with the Joe Dumars wheeling and dealing, looking for as many Serbian players as he can get. My friend Steve, how are you doing?
I'm okay. Joe, he might chime in later. I don't know. He might get off the phone, though. We'll see. He's always here. He's still trying to install, I don't know, Myst or some kind of computer game on there.
Do you think he's like calling Darko right now to see if he can come see the farm?
No, I think he's calling Allen Iverson and T-Max on the other.
Oh my God.
I love it. Oh my gosh. And
why can't he be calling Orlando for Ben Wallace?
Oh my God. Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. That's what should be happening here. But last but most certainly not least, we got Go Blue Lexi down in the bottom left corner. Lexi, you came buffed up this week, man. You felt left out.
We'll say fake gray band up, but let's do it.
You're gonna get buffed soon. Eventually,
yes, I am.
Eventually, we're all gonna be buffed up. But also, Lexi, again, I do want to give you some spotlight real quick as well. Tell the world, tell the people about your podcast again. Also, tell people what in the world you're talking about, because guys, Michigan football just started, and what other voice do you want to be hearing from right now than Lexi? I can't think of it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, so I'm basically focusing a lot on college football and NFL. I do a weekly show, a podcast of Blue by 90 for Michigan. And then I also do The Weekenders, which is a podcast where you just talk about the best slate of college football and NFL combined. So it's been, fun kicking that off and got some betting and some teasers that I'm making videos for, and I'll be doing some promos for Dimers betting coming up as well too. So
That's
it's going
awesome.
to be a busy fall, and I'm excited.
Lexi, real quick, in the next 5 seconds, who's going to be the starting quarterback for Michigan? 5, 4, 3,
JJ.
2. JJ McCarthy?
Yeah.
I like it. It's what it better be, man.
Hey, I already said I have not taken a stance this whole offseason, anything else, but the proof's in the pudding. And that's all I just gotta say. So
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who they play, it's just, it's gonna be 5-star gonna 5-star.
Yeah, 100%. Generally speaking, 5-star gonna 5-star, without a doubt.
Sean, brother.
Well, and JJ is really in this offseason, improved himself. And I think that, even that, I know we're not kind of going off topic, but just that, even the fumble that he had against Michigan State last year, I think he's really built off that and really thinking to himself, I'm never going to do something like that again. And he's the type of player though, where he'll get something in his mind, his mentality and stuff reminds me of Hutch, where it's he's just gritty, down to the point, working hard, doesn't matter. He wants the competition, wants everything, that he can get, so we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Listen to my Go Blue ears. I'm just keep going.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again,
he's quick, man. He's quick on the ground. So that dual threat is huge.
Yeah, and again, that's just a small taste of everything that Lexi offers. If you love Lexi, which let's be honest, who doesn't? Be sure that you go follow her. Be sure you go check out Blue by 90 podcast. Be sure you're checking out everything she's doing. She's insanely talented, doing awesome things. But
appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. But guys, we have a lot to discuss because it's been a pretty action-packed week in the world of Pistons, in the world of basketball. There's been a lot of things going on. I do want to point out, I do want to say real quick, I need basketball to come back so bad. And I know I've said that a lot, but guys, I was literally watching garbage time Eurobasket minutes today, and I was salivating at it. I was it was the fourth quarter. It was Greece, and I can't even tell you what the other country is at the top of my head. I'm looking for it right now. It was Greece and Estonia. I was watching garbage time minutes of Greece and Estonia with no Giannis on the court, and I just felt this is everything and more. That's how fiending I am. It's crazy.
Man, I'm with you. I was watching that exhibition of Team Overtime Elite against Mega for Thompson Twins and Duracich. So I just got done watching that before here. So I'm with you, man.
Yeah. By the way, one quick thing I want to touch on before one quick thing I want to bring up before we get into the Pistons news and stuff. Luka Doncic literally scored the most points in Eurobasket in the 21st century the other day. So that's crazy. And he did it against France, one of the best teams in the world. Kid's insane.
One of the best players in the world.
Yeah, kid's insane, man. But
confirm it.
Yeah, for a country that literally didn't gain its independence until 1993, and he brought that team to a bronze medal in the Olympics the other year. That's how crazy he is. But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about some more important
Did
things.
you get my text message?
Oh, absolutely. I got your text message.
Let's get that queued up, man.
For sure. First, I'm going to show that.
I'm trying to make a statement.
Yeah, for sure. But first, I want to show the statement itself because yesterday the Pistons finally unveiled their brand new statement jerseys. They are here. And first of all, one of the things that I love about these jerseys is that the story of the jersey, it was actually inspired by a fan who left an angry voicemail saying, I want more bold jerseys. I want something that looks cool. I want something new. Why don't we have a black jersey? And they were like, all right, bet. And they went out and threw this. Now, the initial reaction on Twitter was a ton of crybabies going, oh my God, I hate this jersey so much.
I saw a little bit more mixed.
Yeah,
I did see some crabbies out there.
And a lot of people,
I did not like them at first, and then within 2 hours, it was good. So.
And here's the thing: the reason why a lot of people didn't like it was because they went out and threw out a self-report on themselves, and were like, "What in the heck are those stripes down the middle?" And as our guy Carl Collins pointed out to a lot of people yesterday, a lot of people don't recognize. But those stripes down the middle are an ode to the bad boy Pistons, specifically the old bad boy warm-ups. And if you look at the jersey right here, as you can see, the only thing is like the stripes are flipped. But even then, I feel like that's a way to represent like honoring the old guard, but taking a new step forward in a fresh look and concept of the design. Now, obviously,
the font kind of juxtaposed, kind of right and left, similar to the back of the warm up, where the right logo is kind of down to the left.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, exactly. So this is definitely an ode to the bad boys. This jersey will be in the Pistons rotation for at least 2 years. It has also been confirmed by James Edwards III that the team will have a unique court for this jersey as well as for the teal jersey. And we still have another jersey yet to be announced, which will be the City Edition jersey that's being designed by Big Mother Sean. Now, guys, with that, I want to go around. Lexi, you even said yourself, like your first reaction was that you didn't love it. Within a couple hours, you were able to kind of, come to a different place. For me personally, I really liked it from the beginning. I'll be honest. I like weird stuff. And anytime someone does different or takes a bold, like new kind of leap, I vibe with it. And my 3 favorite colors are red, blue, and black. So like I'm kind of made to love this jersey. But Lexi, I want to know like what your thought process was, because I remember seeing your tweet. I remember you being bummed at the beginning, but what made you come around, and what are your feelings about this jersey?
Yeah, I mean, at first it was just kind of like I don't like when things are like off centered a little bit, and that's kind of my OCD like kind of kicking in there. But the stripes, though, I just thought immediately it was like, oh, it kind of looked like a soccer jersey to me. And then once I realized after seeing Carl's tweet, I'm like, oh yes, of course, this makes so much sense now. And then it was like, okay, I do love them. I think the like waist belt area of like the shorts are kind of weird. I don't know, but it's like something different. And I like the black. I like that it's different than the red and blue. So it grew on me and I'm good with it. And now I'm going to get one. So
yeah. And I will say there's like very few, like I would say that there's very few jerseys that like, in my opinion, immediately I resonate with a player. But when I saw that photo of Sadiq Bey wearing that jersey,
what helped too. I was like, okay, he looks like sweet in it.
Like my first thought right away was, well, that's the Sadiq jersey I'm getting. Because he just looks sick wearing it. But
I thought that the jerseys, I thought that they're not bad looking jerseys. They just instantly reminded me of everything except for the Pistons. And even though Carl pointed out the 2 stripes without the white, it doesn't ring bad boys. If you're going to use black, then go with one of their bad boys themed things that they went with. That was my thing.
Yeah, like
the black Clippers or Milwaukee Bucks when I first saw it.
The only thing though, Kool-Aid, and I thought about this, I'm sorry, and you might be saying the exact same thing here, Carl. The one thing is, if they did a Bad Boys jersey for the statement, it'd have the Michael Jordan logo on it. And there's just no world where a Bad Boys jersey can have a Jordan logo. I know a lot of people are upset that there is a Jordan logo on this jersey that's NBA mandated for statement jerseys. I just believe specifically for a Bad Boys jersey, there's no world that a Jordan logo can end up on it.
No, they would just put it at the bottom because then it couldn't get up.
Then just do a different one. Don't make that one the black jersey, though.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
Do a black one, I always thought, hold that black one. If you're going to do it right, do it right. And I don't think that they did that one right for the Pistons. Like, for me, this is the second time now that Nike has effectively stuck the Pistons with not a bad-looking jersey, but a retread from other teams. It just reeks of, like, the other circle logo that was effectively the Denver Nuggets. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't Pistons. It wasn't something original. It wasn't something necessarily unique to the Pistons. So I appreciate what they're trying to do. It don't look bad. It does not look bad. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I just wish that they would have come with something a little bit different.
Yeah,
just a little.
I get that.
I am going to cop one.
Now, here's a point though that I think is like important to remember about these jerseys. I don't like to say like, oh, like I know a lot of people are like, oh man, well, compared to the grays, these are a godsend, which is true. And I know that like doesn't like necessarily that shouldn't necessarily like up the quality of this jersey. But I think one thing to keep in mind is that even the recent chromes that we had were an improvement over the last chromes that we had. And even then, do you guys remember our very first City Edition jerseys too? Like the Pistons over the past like 10 years, even before Nike came into the fold, have just had a genuine problem in like since the 2000s of modernizing their brand, coming up with a fresh image and doing a different concept. So for me, this is like one of the best jerseys the Pistons have ever made. But in my opinion, this is at the very least a step in the right direction and is something that is at least different and bold. And like again, I see the hints of like, I know the stripes down the middle kind of make it look like the Bucks jersey, like the black Bucks jersey with the Bucks logo in the middle. I even had my buddy Robert say it looks like the black Clippers jersey that has the Clippers logo like right in the middle too. And I get that, but like again, I think there is still other things that they did different in this jersey that make it stand out on its own. But maybe I'm just biased because I'm well aware of that. But Carl, my man, what were your thoughts?
So let me just say, I haven't bought a jersey in probably 15 to 20 years. It's been a bad investment in terms of Pistons, buying a Pistons jersey. Because players, they come and go, so often. But
yeah,
this is the first time I'm like, yeah, I'm buying one of these.
Wow.
And, I don't know which player it's going to be, but I'm going to buy one for sure. I saw it initially and I'm like, yeah, it's so fresh and different. It's just something that the Pistons, I didn't expect them to come out with. So that's why I'm excited about it. And I think it'll look even better when we're winning in them, or if we start winning in the next few years.
Nah, bro. I like the first statement. Win.
Yeah.
I mean, like we might not win this year, but next year, yeah, I think so. But yeah, and I think it'll look better just with them playing on the court. I think it's always hard to judge for me, like what it's going to look like until you see them like running around and playing in them. So
especially with the court that goes with it too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Each jersey is supposed to have its own court, so that's gonna be really, really dope.
Yeah. Now, Steve, we bring you on because you are our fashion expert. You are, like in the Detroit sports world, you're known for your fashion takes and everything you bring to that.
Well, I'm wearing a short sleeve hoodie.
Hey, I love short sleeve or cut off.
I was totally joking around.
I know. I want everybody to know that's how I roll. So.
Oh yeah, but Steve, my friend, what were your thoughts of the jerseys? What as a writer and as someone that like covers the team, what do you think about do you think there's anything that like you take away from this from from your expertise and seeing the team over the years? And do you think that this is something that Pistons fans should be excited about? What are your thoughts?
No, I mean, I love them from the very start. The more I look at them, the more I like them too. I think, like Bruce Lee once said, simplicity is the key to brilliance. And I think these uniforms definitely bring that out. As like, they're not overly complicated. They're also not super bland. They're different, but also not wildly out of control, like those Utah orange ones a couple years back that I've never liked. Then there've been a couple around the years, right, where you get the alternates, like the Wolves, I think, did a green one at one time with the old Wolves script in it and stuff that is just like that. But also the past Pistons ones, you're right, have been super boring. Like when I was going to games at the Palace when they first had those Motor City ones and they had the short sleeve ones, I hated those. Those sucked so bad. But the regular ones, just the regular jerseys with Motor City, I still proudly have my Greg Monroe one in my closet. So I feel Carl too, and like not wanting to buy a jersey all the time. But I think these are awesome. And you're right. The minute I saw it on Sadiq, I was like, yeah, that's the one. Like that definitely is what it is. So,
but here's the thing. The real thing is this, Carl. They've been saving you because real talk. This team hasn't had seasons worthy enough of us going out and buying jerseys in droves, man. They haven't really had the players. We haven't really had any vision. Like even the teams that we put together that made the playoffs over the last 5 years, it's not even like any of those players are here.
Right.
So it's like, those teams weren't even built to be the ones you would fall in love with and say, I'm going to have this jersey forever. I'm going to have this jersey, for a very long time. This jersey is going in the frame. But we look at this Pistons team right now, and more so than we could over the last 10 years before them, we can look and say, you know what, this guy might be here for a very long time. And this guy is trajectorizing to be a very, very highly talented, highly regarded player. We got guys like Cade Cunningham and Sadiq Bey who are getting high regards from people around the league And we have, rookies like Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren who are getting high praises from, other people around the league, working out, coming in and showing a little bit more than what we even thought they were capable of. And I do believe that the team recognizes where they are, and they are putting a little bit more into those designs rather than wasting some nice designs on years where we know we're not going to buy. We're all saying the same thing. Whether we think that they struck gold or not, we all know that these jerseys are fitting more to what this product is and where they're going, the hope of the team, the look. I would rather them look more like the league than like some weird offshoot, like the Motor City sleeve jersey. It's just like, no.
And here's the
trying to create chrome. It's just like, do we really do chrome like that? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like in this era, I don't know. It
like
just
that's the
like
thing. And that's the thing, man. Just over the course of the years, like in my opinion, this has been symbolic, not just in the uniforms, but like, I mean, you look at the team, like how they were at the start of the social media era. Like if you go back and look at tweets that they were making in 2009 or 2010, they look like they were tweets that were made by accounts today that have like 48 followers. You know what I mean? Like they're appallingly bad. I even remember like they had like the same like welcome to Detroit graphic for years where it had that weird like Spalding basketball texture in the background. And I remember every time we welcomed a player to this team with that graphic, I was like, you poor bastard. You have to look at that with like that's the first look you have to see of yourself with the Pistons. Like, yikes. So like the fact that like not only as the team, like in my opinion, just over the like past the few years, like, they've changed their approach on the court, they've changed their approach in production, they've changed their approach in design, in social media, and marketing. They have flipped the entire script.
Bro, they got a whole new G League team.
Yeah, man. And so like if you're looking overall at what they've done, like in comparison to like where they were even 3 years ago, right? Night and day. Absolutely night and day. And in my opinion, if you're looking at like these jersey, like the past 2 years, like the city edition we made last year, which was the red jersey with the teal in the middle, and then the jersey this year, I can honestly say those are the first 2 jerseys in my lifetime that the Pistons have made where I felt like they took a risk.
Here you go. Yeah. Which one was better though? Last year's or this year?
Oh, no question. Last year's was better, but the difference last year's was great, but like
that's gold. When I say gold, yes,
that's gold. I agree with you.
It's dope. It's coppable. You got to get it because it's not a bad looking jersey, and Sadiq just makes it look like it's been in every like put up on the wall Black Hood movie out there. Like seriously, like Sadiq looks like every single one of the movies, though. Like he just makes it look also, man. Like these guys gonna go out there and do work.
I would argue though, last year's jersey, in my opinion, had an unfair advantage in the sense that it was a red jersey, and us in Detroit, anytime
with a little bit of teal.
Listen, yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was literally like if you were to say, "Hey, what would be a combination of the ultimate Pistons pandering uniform?" That would be it. You know what I'm saying?
And the script, the type of font they used was that with that traditional, that throwback Pistons font. Mm-hmm. Everything about that jersey was just kind of what we have been clamoring for, except for I didn't hear too many people clamoring for the Thunder, the lightning bolts, but when it was on, everyone was like, "Oh yeah!"
I have been a proponent of the lightning bolt since I was 8 years old, dude. I am, in my opinion, the fact that the Pistons have let the lightning bolt go is like one of the biggest mistakes that they've made. Like, I bring that shit back, please. But I could go on about unis all day. Holy cow! But no, it's But I think Dwayne in the comments said it best. We got a little sauce now, not just on the court. We got some excitement and some swagger. We're gonna be able to like run at a fast pace and throw some lobs. Like we're gonna be like a highlight reel team, but like also we're gonna look good doing it.
I don't think it's unreasonable to say that I think our primary jerseys, our home and aways, are going to be upgraded in the next few years too.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Please. Yeah, I love those jerseys, but please.
They have to.
It's a new era. It's a new era. Yeah, it's time.
Especially the away blues, man. Like, I'm sorry. I like the away jersey, especially. Like, I'm not saying that we can't have a blue away uniform because, in my opinion, like it's not going to be the Pistons, in my opinion, if we don't at least have like a blue uniform of some form. But like, it's got to look different. This man, right? Am I the only one?
I feel you, bro. What up,
Yeah.
though, Flagrant Elbow?
What up, though, Flagrant Elbow? You're a real one, man. Always appreciate you coming in here, brother.
Sure. And B-Ball. What's
Yeah.
good, brother?
Absolutely, man. Oh man, but
Got a
hey,
couple, man.
but guys, that's just talking about what's going on in in our sphere on the uniform side of things. Let's talk about what's going to be happening when they're actually wearing those jerseys and are playing the game of basketball. Last week we talked about a little bit because it was actually the day of the table talk when the Donovan Mitchell trade broke this last week. So a lot of it was just us reacting and going like, "Holy cow!" Because again, that team's going to be good, right?
Yep.
But one thing that we talked about a little bit on From Half Court, one thing I believe that's been talked about a little bit on What We're Pistons and the What We're Pistons podcast, but something that we've just all been kind of talking about as friends in general is, and I think this is like the elephant in the room that everyone's kind of thinking in the back of their head. Anytime you see a major trade happen in the NBA world, as a fan, you're always going to wonder when your team's going to do the same thing, right? And so I think, looking at this Pistons team, and we've been comparing them for a little while to Cleveland and to the Cavaliers in the rebuild that they have. Kool-Aid, I want to start with you on this one, man. First of all, what similarities are you seeing personally between the Cleveland, what's being built in Cleveland and what's being built in Detroit? And for you personally, in order for the Pistons to go out and make that type of move, like a blockbuster trade, what do you think needs to happen before that trade?
Well, I want to start a little bit. I want to start a little bit before that. We will get to the trades and what we want to see them do. But I want to start with this aspect of highlighting a few things with Cleveland Cavaliers and what they've been able to do. Now, everyone is focused on the fact that they added Donovan Mitchell this year.
Mhm.
But as everybody know that they added 20 plus games to, 20 plus wins to their record over the last 2 seasons. We've talked on this pod. We've talked on a lot of different other pods that, some people might be apprehensive to give the Pistons that boost, to give them that, we think that they can make that 20 game jump in the season, get into the play-in conversation, and be a formidable team, not a team that people are necessarily looking at as just kind of, hey, they got there, but they might not be around for too long. What I wanted to be able to do is kind of look at, do the Pistons have what it takes right now to make that jump, as well as the nuances of what Sean is talking about too? If not, what pieces or what trades as we move on need to happen, or would you like to see have happening? Because to kind of piggyback on that, Sean, Rod Beard brought up something very, very interesting. If you guys heard the last What We're Pistons podcast, we had Mike Curtis on, man. Shout out to him, the Detroit News Pistons beat writer. He's just a great guy.
Awesome, dude.
Hungry guy, ready to work. But Rod stated he believes that there's going to be at least a couple changes to the starters by the end of the season. He doesn't mean just guys moving to the bench. He also brought up the potential for trades too. And so I wanted to be able to kind of look at this thing, real talk, because the Cavs made a huge jump. And I don't know if that jump was spurred on by too much more than what the Pistons have right now.
Yeah. So I'll start on this one a little bit. I think so. When you look at the jump the Cavaliers made the past year, you don't stop any further than the 2 players that emerged as all-stars this last year. It was Jared Allen and it was also Darius Garland, right?
Yeah.
Their ability to for Jared Allen, he's one of the best defensive bigs in the league. In my opinion, I think in the next year or two, he'll be the best defensive big in the league. He's just, his rim protection's elite. Everything that he brings, on that side of the ball is just, lethal. And the Nets look dumber and dumber every day for letting him go. And then in addition to throw him alongside a guy like Evan Mobley, who looked like a guy who had all world defensive talent his first day in the league, I think that just makes that interior defense terrifying, right? I think the Pistons, you're looking at, they added Jalen Duren this offseason, who, if he can come in and have an impact and play good minutes, to start. I think that can definitely like I'm really looking forward to seeing the matchup of Beef Stew and Duran versus Mobley and Allen, because I think personally that I think Duran and Stewart can give those guys fits just with their physicality and grit. But also, I mean, again, with Garland, with what he was able to do, not only to emerge as the all-star level scorer that he was, but also the reason why Cleveland chose him over Sexton, and why, you know, a lot of people would choose him over Sexton, is that he also can play make too. He was also almost averaging a double-double with assists. So I think those are two things going at it. And now you would have to say, all right, well, what Pistons could take this leap this year? And maybe that's like, we'll get into that a little more, but if you're looking at like why Cleveland made that jump and what the Pistons would have to do the same thing, they'd have to get some guys with that type of production on the court.
So do you believe that we have any guys on this roster now? And I want this from everybody that can make those types of jumps into all-star caliber and help this team take that next step. Now, the biggest difference here, just to point out some things here, the Cavs went from 22-50 to 44-38. We all talked about the Pistons having 23 wins. We talked about for them to firmly make the 6th seed, it might take a jump like this. The biggest difference here, Sean touched on it, and we all know, is defense, man. They went from 25th in defensive rating of 114.4 to 7th, bro. 7th. That's huge.
And it was better before Jared Allen went out too. That number probably only went down because Allen was out for like the last third of the season. So
Yeah. And so that you're right. You know, Jared Allen becoming an all-star was probably because of his impact on the defensive side. Evan Mobley definitely and assuredly helped with that. Their guard play, though, that's where things get risky for them. That's going to be their weak spot of the defense. But how much of a weak spot is it if they were 7th in defensive rating? Like, they have the bigs that can assuredly lock down the paint. And from that perspective, when we were talking about it on the Woodward Pistons podcast, I just for right now, I don't know who the Pistons have on this team at all. Like, Jalen Duran probably has in my opinion, the best shot to be as defensively just wrecking and destructive as the Cleveland centers and bigs. But I don't see that on our roster.
I think the only play I think Beef Stew can be a really high quality defender. I just don't think he's going to be a ferocious defender, because his ability is the ability to switch on the defensive end. So like, that's not necessarily something that's ferocious. That's just a pain in the ass to deal with. So like, that's going to be the thing. Now I'll turn it over to everyone else. I would just say really quickly, I think there are players on this team that can, and I'll get into those guys in a second, like in a little bit. I think there are certainly players on this team that can take leaps and can have all-star caliber seasons, but I don't think it's the type of players that would make a 22 win jump. Because I think, for one, another thing you have to look at, this is their first full year having Jared Allen on the court. It was also, they were able to get Darius Garland finally healthy and out there playing some more basketball too. So I think some of those things matter to like the context of how they made that type of jump. I also think another thing that's working against us that Cleveland didn't have quite as much of last year is how damn good this Eastern Conference is this year in particular. Like, it was really good last year. It somehow got even better. So like, I think those are just the things of like, do I think we can make a jump? Yeah. 22 wins? That's a whole other conversation.
Bro, like the Pistons added 2 lottery picks to their 2 former lottery picks, one of those being Kay Cunningham and Sadiq, who could have been a lottery pick. If they did a redraft, I feel like Isaiah Stewart and Sadiq would be lottery picks in their draft. Like, think about how much talent the Pistons have added. And we're not even talking about the trade of former Marvin Bagley, Kelly Olynyk. These are not whack players. Hamid Diallo. And they're still like, we're hoping these guys can compete for the play-in tournament. We're hoping. And this was a few years ago. I would be way less apprehensive about saying the Pistons can make at least a 15-game jump. They can be compete for 7th, 8th, 6th, 7th seed, and definitely they're going to beat everybody in the play-in. But with how good the East has gotten, the only sliver of light we got is that the fact that the top of the East is going to be beating each other up, and there's going to be a couple more wins, a couple more nights where they're probably a little off, maybe. But that's the best of it. You know, the guys at the bottom are going to get less wins. That leaves the Pistons in a position where if some guys step up they can make a little bit of noise, but it's gonna be tough. Like,
Yeah, because there's a
from like, okay, we see you to no, they're firmly gonna be a playoff team this year.
I could see a world where this team is significantly better than last year, and we only improve by 6 wins.
Yeah,
Like that's where this
in a weird
conference is
way,
at.
that's the ideal situation because we're not going to compete in the East for another 3 years, like 2 or 3 years at least. So like if we can, I'm not saying tank, but like get another top level talent. I mean, I expect our guys to be in terms of internal development. I expect them to all internally develop pretty well, especially Isaiah Stewart. But I think we will be playing better. But yeah, I don't think our record will show it.
Yeah, I think one thing we can say for certain is we won't be going for Victor Wembanyama. I think that's one thing we can agree on.
Yeah. Right. If they get that, it has to be just, hey, the basketball gods have said, you know what, Pistons, we just want to see chaos. Let's get them this first pick. You know what I'm saying? Because that would be a crazy, crazy, crazy team there. But I want to get you guys' thoughts on it as well. Just who do you believe, if the Pistons were to have some type of rise like that, what one or two players do you think, as Sean pointed out, the Cavs saw Garland and Allen rise to all-star level. Are there a couple Pistons on this team that you think this season can potentially have that type of effect on the Pistons, or at least, from a personal or individual level, have the type of success that Jared Allen and Darius Garland had?
Yeah, Lexi, how about you start with this one?
Yeah, I actually agree with Flagrant Elbow in the comments saying about like Beef and Bagley. I think that if Bagley can clean up a lot of things, that can pretty much lead to more wins. I don't think that 22 wins more is viable. Would I love that to happen? Do I think that there's a chance that could? Yeah, but the East, like Carl said, is just a beast this year, and it's just a force that's going to be reckoned with for a couple years to come. So it's just really I'm trying to just soak in what's going to be happening with these new players and getting this team chemistry together. That a few more wins will be great, but I'm not. My expectations are not that high.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't blame you. It's tough because again, it's like you don't want to like go out there and like set like crazy expectations. Because even last year it was like after we got Cade, everyone was like playing. But again, literally after one summer league game, it was like, oh no, we're not. Like, you know what I mean?
So,
well, especially, I mean, we have young guards, and like we all keep preaching, like you're just not going to win right away with young guards. Like they just tend to lose. So like,
yeah, for sure.
Not to say they're not good, but like
Yeah. Steve, what about you, my man? I know as a fellow, I myself, do a good amount of writing, for Woodward Sports right now. I know you yourself do a lot of writing for Detroit Bad Boys. For you as like someone that's going to be writing about this team this upcoming season, when you're like, all right, what are the players like, we're talking about these players that like take the leap. When you're looking at like, all right, what players am I most likely going to be talking about having breakout years? Like what guys am I most likely writing about this year? What guys do you envision personally?
I mean, even if they made a 10 to 15 game leap, I feel like it's Isaiah Stewart and Killian Hayes. Isaiah would have to like take a Pascal Siakam year 3 type of jump. Let me give you some numbers here. Pascal Siakam year 2 had 7.3 points, 4.4 rebounds, 2 assists, shot 61.2% from 2, 22.0% from the 3-point line. He looks like whatever, right? Year 3, the year they won the title. He dropped 16.9 points per game, 6.9 rebounds, 3.1 assists, shoots 60.2% from 2, 36.9% from 3, taking about 2.7 of those a game. Gets to the free throw line more, 3.8 trips, and ups his free throw percentage to 78.5%. I think it's like, not that Stu's going to turn into Siakam, but he does a lot of the same things on defense already, right? Where he can switch, and the way they deploy Siakam is that way too. If he could do something like that, I think that is in and of itself like 10 to 15 games enough, right? Because then how do you defend Cade and Sadiq if you have this other guy that's pulling all that gravity and all that weight there from his shot? Killian too, like if Killian just had a spot up 3,
bro,
like, that would make the biggest difference in the world, because then you have that point of attack defender that like nobody wants to face, and Cade and Sadiq and Beef Stew, and even though I'm not a big Bagley fan, like the way he can operate and pick and roll threat, like if you have that other guy that has that 3-point gravity with Killian, like that would be amazing. So those would be the two that I would say, Killian and Beef Stew. Those would be the main two I think that would have to do that. But like everybody said, like it's not necessarily a tank, but I do think I've been saying the year of experimentation where they're like, hey, let's throw out some more 3-guard lineups. Hey, let's put Beef Stew and Duran out there. See what that's like. Let's let Duran shoot some threes while he's out there. I think a lot of that is going to happen.
I'm starting though. Oh my gosh. I don't know how much Kool-Aid I'm drinking. I don't even know if it's spiked or not, but I'm just looking at this team and Cade. I'm telling y'all, Cade Cunningham, he's different, y'all. We haven't had somebody here like that since we got to go back, like drafted here since Grant Hill. Played here, literally played here since Jerry Stackhouse. Y'all have to understand, nobody on the going to work Pistons was like Cade Cunningham.
I got a counter. I got a counter though.
What's up?
I got a counter though, because we at Detroit Bad Boys have been going back and forth on this of like, yeah, we think Cade is the guy, right? We think he is that next level dude that can carry a team, but like, who is he kind of mirroring? What team is Troy kind of building? What other team in the past built around one gigantic superstar like this that can carry an offense? Like, who can parallel? A couple of us think it's Kevin Durant. So Kevin Durant's rookie year, they won 20 games. He scored 20 points, 20.3 points, 3.5 rebounds, or 4.4 rebounds, 2.4 assists, 45.5% from 2, 28.8% from 3. Got to the free throw line 5.6 times, 87.3%. Awesome rookie year. They still won 20 games. Their second year, Kevin Durant, he ups his everything. 25.3 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, 2.8 assists, 48.6% from 2. Gigantic leap in the 3-point, 42.2%. 7.1% trips to the free throw line, 86.3%. He also got Russell Westbrook. Jeff Green was on that team. Jeff Green got better also. Can you guess how many games the first year of Oklahoma City won with that Kevin Durant stat line?
Yeah,
27.
I was gonna say 31.
23. It was a 3-game increase with Russell Westbrook, rookie again, like Carl said.
In the
guards,
West,
you can't win with young guards, right? And that Kevin Durant stat line is still awesome right now. Like if he rolls out next year and does that, everybody's still like, oh, fantastic. I think Cade can do that too, right? Up all those stuff. But I think still, again, it's this idea of we're building around our draft picks is the main thing too. We're going to let them take their lumps like they did with KD and Russ. They let Jeff Green in there. They stupidly traded him for Kendrick Perkins, which I've been kind of drawing the Sadiq Jeff Green parallel. I think Sadiq's better than Jeff Green, but I've also been saying don't trade him for Kendrick Perkins, Troy Weaver, please.
And that's the thing, though. You got to think about it. If it was just Cade, if we were just starting at the Cade years, then I would be more with you. But we're not. We're starting with mature Sadiq. We're starting with mature, a little bit more mature Beef Stew, guys who came in and made certain impacts and kind of set the table before we got Cade. And I trust me, I want to temper this too. But I also didn't expect Cade to come in this year and look the way he did, and for when he got going for the Pistons to actually win the games that they won. I don't know if the Thunder have a stretch in their first or second year with KD, or at least the first year with KD, where you could discernibly look and say, this is a 500 basketball team when all their parts are playing together, and Cade's numbers were what, 22, 23 points a game, 6 and 7. That was his rookie year. I don't know if KD had a stretch like that where he put the team. For KD to put a team on his back, it looks even tremendously different than Cade. When Cade puts a team on his back, does he have to score the way KD is scoring, or can he go out there and literally run a team? Whereas KD had Russell Westbrook. Cade is like, he is our Chauncey in that sense, but he is so dynamic a player like Grant Hill and Jerry Stackhouse that he's literally making people around him better. And it's like the player that we know from this era, or from the last, I guess his era is kind of fading out now. LeBron James was that way. I'm not trying to say he's going to be LeBron James. He's going to be Grant Hill or whatever. Me personally, I think that Cade Cunningham is going to carve out his own path. He's going to be one of those guys that we say his name, and that's who he is. It's not like, oh,
this guy reminds me of Cunningham at some point. Yeah,
that's what I see from, and that's why I speak this way, because now you're talking about, if Sadiq Bey has the year 3 jump that we believe he can have with a Cade Cunningham, who could potentially was already playing at an all-star level, second half or post all-star, I don't want to let these guys off of any hook. I don't want to let them off easy under any circumstance. If Ivy comes in, it looks like he's that deal. If Duran comes in, Like they're saying Sean Kemp's name. I didn't bring that up. They brought that up.
Dwayne Casey did.
And Weaver brought that up. So it's like if these guys are coming in and they're actually proven to be basketball players and not guys who have to, well, our top guards are immature or they need a little bit. No, our top guards literally are Cade, Killian, Hami, Sadiq. Sometimes if they moonlight them at the 2, it's not even necessarily Ivy. So me personally, I do believe, like the panel, we're not this year. I believe in the year after they should be not a team that we're talking in hopes and guesses and wishes. And then after that, they should definitely, after 2 to 3 years, be in contention,
Yeah.
a
And if
fun
I can-
playoff spot.
If I can end on this too, can you guess what the win total for the Oklahoma City Thunder is in year 3?
What? You got to let us know.
50.
I'll guess
50 wins. 50
Year 3
wins.
was
They
the
go
year
from
for them?
23 to 50, which is, I don't know that the Pistons would get there in year 3, but I think that kind of a jump in year 3 is definitely absolutely in the cards.
Yeah. Can
Absolutely.
you bring up Warriors, bro? Can you bring up the Steph Curry Warriors? Because I actually believe
That one's different though, because they had
Wow.
Monta and Steph, and so they went back and forth on like how they were going to build that, and it took a while. And then Clay came in, and they didn't really
Yeah.
know if he was going to be
Yeah,
that
there's a-
guy, and then he
there's
just
a
stepped
point-
up. So it's different.
There was a
And then
point where
Draymond, too.
Steph Curry was the one going to the Bucks.
It is a little
Yeah.
different, but I feel like their team, the way that the Pistons team is coming together, though, it resembles to me more of what that Warriors team was. Versus the OKC team, they seemed a lot more individual, whereas the Warriors team seems a lot more. Their big 3+1, they always to me seem to be a little bit more team oriented in their style of play, and that's what I get. Like I don't feel Steph Curry, though we know he's a mega star. He doesn't feel like the KD type of I need everything.
Well, look what happened with OKC.
It
They're all
reminds me of Cade.
yeah.
That's oh, what you saying, Carl?
No, I was just saying, look what happened with OKC. I mean, they're all stars on separate teams, whereas like the Warriors are stars on. I mean,
Yeah, but that's more as a result of OKC messing it up. Like
that's definitely true.
I think he would be in their ears saying y'all want to be more Warriors than you want to be OKC, because that's the only way. Detroit drafting all of these players, that's the way that these types of teams win. Who wanted to go to Golden State? Who wanted to go to OKC? You have to draft guys and you have to want them to stay. You almost have to even draft your bench guys, which is sad. You have to draft your rotational bench guys in cities like that. Detroit should not have that problem, and it's a shame that they do. That teams like Chicago and in New York, and I get what people say, these are cold weather places that are literally colder than Detroit in the winter. And I get it. The cities had to build up.
I don't even think it's the weather. I just think it's the size of the markets. I just think, when you're looking in the NBA world, I think a lot of times, unless there's like you said, Kool-Aid, unless there's like, times or programs that teams are building that people are genuinely interested in, let's just be honest. Like if you're going to ask any player if they'd rather go to say New York, Chicago, Boston, LA, or Oklahoma City, Denver, Utah, Indiana, Detroit, like that's just the reality. I don't even like a lot of people just go, like a lot of people just go, the weather's nicer. All the like a lot of it is like a lot like in which it is. Don't get me wrong, that's just inherently true, and that's part of what makes these markets so tantalizing for sure. Like people love living in LA, but at the same time, part of like I know because of the rent and all that crap. But like people love the weather of LA, but like the reality of it is like a lot of these teams like the Lakers are always going to intrinsically be a team that people are attracted to, even if the Lakers have dysfunction, because they're the Lakers, because they are in the biggest market in basketball, right? So I think those are just some of the things where, like you're alluding to, I think a lot of it is like in the modern NBA landscape, I think it comes down to like the markets.
In the modern NBA landscape, I don't think the Pistons are going to have that problem. I believe that they are already starting to change that narrative. You're hearing the draft picks say, out of my choices, I'm trying to go to Detroit. You're hearing them say that. You're hearing them say, nah, I'm only working out for Detroit. You heard Donovan Mitchell, even if you want to go even back that far. There are guys then who did not want Detroit to pass up on them, including Devin Booker. We obviously know he has a hometown ties. And hey, Devin Booker, I'm never giving it up, bro. Come home. Come home. Never giving it up. But yeah, look, I definitely know that the notions that people put out there, but being here, and being as biased as I'm always going to be for Detroit, and knowing what they're doing now, what they're doing right now is what needed to be done before. I don't believe that it was you know, you come out here and you heard players talk about, including Grant Hill, literally getting off the plane and driving for a long time and never seeing the city. And then you're at the palace, like, okay, we're here.
Yeah.
You know, that does, man. That type of stuff does play a certain part on, you know, what people are going to think. But for today, look, bro, if you can't look at Cade Cunningham, and this is just me, man, if you cannot look at Cade Cunningham in state, this is a guy that I want to play with. This is a guy that's going to go places. Unless they don't believe he's going to be here long term and he's looking to bounce, man, I'm hoping those notions and those narratives are thrown all the way away, man.
Well, even just like objectively, just looking at like Cade Cunningham, if you're looking at the archetype of what type of player superstars want to play with, Cade is the archetype, right? You know, like point forwards that are versatile and can play defense, but also can do anything you need them to on the offensive end. A team guy, a leader, like he is like, you know, objectively is just like if you were to say, I need a franchise player, he is the mold, right? So I think part of that, but also it's like what we were just saying, unless you have a team that is winning or has a culture or has a program. And that's the thing of what the Pistons are doing right now. Again, it's like what we talk about all the time, right? It's not that the Detroit Pistons are like getting back. Like, it's not just that they're getting back to winning ways. They're getting a culture. They're having a basketball program, which the best teams and the best, you know, and the most successful organizations throughout the league are programs. Like, say what you will about the San Antonio Spurs, even though they're going to have like one of the worst teams in the league this year, they have a program.
You said it best. That C word, bro, culture.
Exactly. The Heat. People talk about Heat culture all the damn time. And maybe that's the one team, if you were to ask me, like, what's the one team we overrate their culture, I would probably talk about the Heat in all honesty. But in all seriousness, that's why they're always relevant. Even when they didn't have D-Wade.
Culture.
Even when they just had a Son Whiteside, like, they were still relevant. They were still competitive, you know? So I think that's the thing of, you know, like, it's like what you're alluding to. It's like, it's not even about like, you know, as like this freaking neurotic clown that keeps coming in all the time. It's not about us being homers. It's just objectively, how do you get players to come to your team? You build a good team. You build a good culture. You build a winning program. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Can we show his first We THW Borth baby? Yeah, we THW Borth baby. Go Borth. We got Borth, Bouth, Beef, and Beth. Freaking moron. Learn how to spell. Jesus Christ. Anyway, let's go on to that next aspect of it. We've been talking about how the Pistons, what's the way that the Pistons can head Borthbound this season? What's the way that they can take steps? I'm sorry, I'm way too proud of Borthbound. That one, can we get a t-shirt that says Borthbound, please?
I just started that one, dog. I like that.
I
like that. Hey, you got to.
Dude, even I left him speechless. I don't care, man.
No, the board beats in Battlestar Galactica.
Oh my gosh, man. Borthbound, Beef, or Beth. Oh my Lord. Anyway, we were talking about.
Hey, bro,
I brought up
good
before,
to see you happy, man.
I brought up before how we were talking about how, you know, like what it would take, you know, before the Pistons to, you know, like make that type of trade. Let's go into that conversation now that we've talked about what players we think have taken those steps, what things that we have done.
Wait, real quick. I wanted to ask Lex about one player before we get there, because there were two players in particular. Mike Curtis believes Kevin Knox is going to be an X factor this year. He's going to be a player that's going to make a step up and make a serious impact. But Rod Beard brought up an interesting player, and that was Isaiah Livers.
Yes.
I'm telling you, it's going to go down as one of the greatest steals in the draft, because I just can't believe, like,
bro, expand on it, and then we'll let Sean get to it.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it before, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it for the rest of my life. Michigan would have a national championship if Isaiah Livers was not hurt in that year. So, but I'll say right off the bat, he has just always been just a really coachable player from the get-go. A hard worker, someone who was like always shooting in the gym, always the last one out, always just showing how much he loved the game. And like, people weren't taking him serious in the draft and weren't taking him serious because he got hurt. Oh, it's going to, that's going to lead to more. And, he had a little rough start at first, but now it's just, people are finally recognizing what his talent is, and I'm so excited. Like next jersey, I'm getting probably the black jersey and the livers because that looks so sick. But I'm so excited for him. He's gonna be that X factor in a lot of ways because I don't know, just it's like the homer in me, but he's just also so good and
well,
so
no, but Lexi,
team,
here's the thing. You're right. Like it's not even being biased. Like
yeah.
I'm Michigan fans. Like I'll acknowledge that up front. Like, but at the listen, even though I'm wearing like, are you a Michigan State fan, Carl?
Did we just get closer?
Oh, absolutely, man.
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely, baby.
Unite, my people.
Can y'all see the resemblance?
Oh yeah, 100%.
We'll be our peoples, but just like from afar.
Kool-Aid, you and I are like a spit. Kool-Aid, you and I are like a spitting image, man. Exact same. But anyway, no. In all seriousness, here's the thing. Like first of all, I remove all my biases when it comes to talking about basketball or analysis of it. I don't let that affect any of my judgment.
A green S. Luckily, it was teal.
Hey, my fight
dude,
song.
hold on. Put that back up. Put that back up. That looks so dope with the green screen.
Yeah. Actually, no, I can't see it.
Nice.
The green screen. Okay,
your boy did do baseball.
That looks.
Oh, there's basketball.
I like.
Yeah, no, that's sweet though with the green screen.
Don't worry though, Carl. I still respect MSU if you're an MSU.
Yeah,
fan. I still respect their
especially basketball. I really I don't respect football. I'll say that right now. But I love basketball. I do like MSU basketball. I will say I pay attention. I follow along.
Yeah, but anyway, back to Isaiah Livers. Kool-Aid. I feel like if we're going on like one of the things that like I keep like if like one of the conversations it feels like we have all the time. It feels like I'm always asking you, how in the hell did we end up with Isaiah Livers? Because even when we got him in the draft, like watching, like I even remember watching the press conference and like just being like, even knowing the injury stuff, like I get it, and I know that like was like a risk, but guys, there's no world where if this guy was healthy that he's getting out of the first round, and I could make an argument there's no world he's getting out of the lottery. I mean, the things that he's bringing, if there was a redraft, he's definitely not getting out of the lottery. Definitely not getting out of the lottery.
Oh, it was going to be top 10 with him, and that's what was kind of tragic about it. But hey, fell to us, so it works out.
Yeah, and again, like it's not just like like you alluded to it, like his shooting ability we all know is great, but his defense, like especially some of and again, we don't take too much from summer league, but at the same time, Isaiah Livers' intensity and what he brought on the defensive end is something that he will bring each and every night because that's just part of who he is. So now that he's not only having a summer to not to actually be with the team, but also Lexi, Kool-Aid, like how many, like we all know this, it's way better to have a summer where you're working on your game than when you're working on your health. He's not having to rehab. He can actually improve as a player. So that's the thing, is that this is a guy that I don't even think we know what he can be. But like, honestly, I've even said this before. I wouldn't be surprised if he was like a Jay Crowder or PJ Tucker-esque guy that like everyone wants on their team and that starts on a championship culture. You know what I mean? That's just the type of guy
he's going to contribute. He's going to contribute is what it's going to come down to at the end. When we win a championship, we're going to say Isaiah was a contributor to that. And that's the first time we said it. So
you go, Sean.
Just just do yourself a baver. Go forthbound. Birch Isaiah Bivers on BooTube and watch his BAME tape. Just watch his BAME tape, okay? That's all you need to know. Or should I say that's all you need to bow. But Flagrant Elbow at the $10 super chat. Thank you so much, my friend. We 6-7 players deep with star potential. It's fun watching it all take shape. 100%, man. And that's just the thing of like when you can not just find value late in the first round, but late in the second round as well. Absolute win.
Flagrant, what are you doing on opening day, man? At the home opener? Let me know, brother. Hit me up on Twitter, man. Let's get something going. Look, the whole Woodward Pistons team is going to be there. Everybody be there. October 16th. Hey, Sean, we're gonna have fun, bro. October 19th.
Kool-Aid, you still haven't even seen me in a Pistons game yet, dude. You don't even know what I'm like. Dude. King literally remembered who I was. Because I literally was like, I was that crazy Pistons fan. He was like, oh yeah. That's literally King recognized me as a crazy Pistons fan. That should tell you something.
I'm loud I'm loud and always talking the trash. So not that that's like a parent or anything, but yeah, that's how I watch the games.
Yeah.
Let's go.
100%.
Hold on, man. You gonna be there at the game?
Oh, I'm gonna be there. We
15
all gonna be
strong, boy. People talking about they going deep.
Yeah,
It's-
100%.
It's gonna be packed. It's gonna be a packed house.
Yeah, and here's what I will say. Like again, talking about like ways that we'll improve as like a team and like ways that we're better. There is no way in the world our spacing this year is worse than last year. Like think about it. We're actually going to be able to relatively space the floor this year, relatively to last year where we couldn't do a damn thing. So
Yeah.
like if I feel like actually like some of these guys getting easier shots. Like you even look at like I keep harping on like I keep going back to like Killian's analytic profile because like again some of it just keeps boggling my mind a little bit. But like guess what percentage of threes he took last year that were open? 13%. To put it in perspective,
Wow.
that is in the 18th percentile in the NBA. That's bad. And he doesn't take many threes. So like when I'm looking at like Killian or some of these guys like can just improve at their shot, like if Killian just took more of his shots open, he'd improve by like 2 or 3 points a game. So
And
like
you know what?
Well,
That's the awesome thing about bringing in guys that can play multiple positions because it allows Killian to not have to necessarily be just the ball handler. I think it puts him in a worse position to shoot. When we see him able to be in the corner or as an off guard or swing the ball around and he's running around to the other side and catching the ball and shooting, he looks to be a much more effective, balanced shooter. When he's told to just, or not told, but when he's just out there just kind of playing and doing the side step and the step back threes and the threes on movement and putting threes up at the end of shot clocks, man, his confidence takes hits way too fast. And I'm hoping that this year with more ball handlers, more playmakers, and what Sean is saying, man, they should know what their players are. They're getting a full summer. They're able to work out. You kind of know what you have with Killian. Put him in a position to succeed. And for Coach Casey, I believe he will do that. But I believe this is a very, very pivotal year for him to make sure Killian is in a position to succeed because the tools are there, man. You look at some of these, you're right, Sean. You look at some of these numbers, your heads just boggle because it's just like he's so bad on this stuff, so good on this stuff, and the stuff we want him to be good on. When he does it, he's actually decent, but he just doesn't do it.
Well, and that's just the thing is that he's like, again, and it just comes out. And again, we've talked about it before. And I don't want to harp on it too much because I don't want to get this reputation of being a Killian Hayes hater because I'm really not. I really do like his game. I like his potential. I like a lot of things that he brings to the court. I bring this up because, I'm not even like a big analytics guy. Like if you were to ask me if I'm like an eye test or analytics guy, I lean on the eye test. However, I think analytics just help tell the story of what your eyes see. You know what I mean? I think we all saw that Killian Hayes could take better threes. I don't think we all knew that he was in the 18th percentile in taking open threes, right?
Yeah, that's puke worthy.
But again, some of that's to the fact that we just had terrible spacing this past year, but also it comes back to the fact that Killian is such a great playmaker and that he's such a young player that he's used to playing basketball with the ball in his hands. And now that he's having this role where the ball in his hands is going to be in his hands less than ever, this last year when the ball wasn't in his hands, let's be honest, he looked lost at times. That was part of why he had to go to the bench unit was because he needed to be in a unit that the ball was in his hands more. They could have more control of traffic, more control of the offense, and have more of contribution. And when he was starting and when he was kind of forced to like either like when, a lot of people were like, oh, well, like Dwayne Casey just sent him to the corner. But like the reality is, Killian Hayes has such a high basketball IQ. There are so many things that he can be doing off the basketball to be helping the team be better. He can be setting screens. He can be cutting to the basket. There's a lot of things that you can do instead of just standing in a corner. A lot of guys, people just go, man, I just hate when Dwayne Casey puts this guy in a corner. But in reality, like an off the ball role is what you make of it. Some of the best players in this league, Richard Hamilton was one of the best players in the league of creating opportunities off the basketball. And if Killian starts to move a little bit when the ball's not in his hands, I think he's going to find easier shots for himself. Guess how many cuts per game he averaged last year? Cuts to the basket.
How many?
0.1.
That sounds about right.
He averaged 1/10 of a cut per game. Imagine if he cut to the basket a couple more times.
from a basketball standpoint, and we all see the game from many different standpoints, but from just a standpoint of Killian learning to play the game, that's something he has to learn. Cutting to the basket in EuroLeague is something way different than cutting to the basket in the NBA, where everybody
Absolutely.
is an absolute athletic freak. And I believe that adjustment when your windows close like that versus in EuroLeague where you are the fastest, I think that's the adjustment that he's trying to make. Is that every window for Killian in which he used to play instinctive and he could just go down the court and do what he does. Now those things are like the defense is faster, bigger, stronger. You blown by somebody who you're faster than, but they have the measurables to be able to still block it. Things like that have I've noticed given him a tough time. Even floaters that Killian made in all of the different highlight packages that we saw and the things that we heard he was going to be good at. In the NBA, we see him leaving those little floaters in the middle of the lane just short. We see him kind of when he does come back to try and get it the second time, he's pushing it off the back of the rim. Just from playing the game, he's overthinking. And what that tells me from a guy who we believe has good basketball IQ, he just hasn't had the time to learn.
And what Narujan's last comment tells me is that he doesn't know shit about basketball, has never watched Killian Hayes play. So literally shut the fuck up and get out of our chat. Anyway, but Banks with the $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much for the donation. Salute to the chat. We know what this season is out, the 2023 free agents. Who would you want to add to this squad? Well, that's a great question. Thank you so much for asking it. I think we're going to get to that in just a second. I think that this other topic that about like what it takes to get to a point where we make that trade sets that up a little bit. So let's talk about that, because we've been talking about like whether or not we think the Pistons can take a jump this year. And when we're looking at what they added this past season, you know, the talent that we have, like you said, we have some stars that are maturing. What do you guys, like, in your personal opinion, what would it take for Troy Weaver to go out and make the same type of move that Cleveland did? Because as you know, like, it feels like, you know, not this upcoming season, but the next season is the one that like we're going to really start competing. And if that's going to be the case, I think there's things that we have to see this season in order for us to feel comfortable to take that jump. You can't just give up assets unless you see something that you're actually willing to invest in, right? Yep. So what are your guys' thoughts? What do you think what do you think the Pistons need to do this season to set themselves up to go make a move like that?
I want to hear what Carl, Steve, and Lexi have to say, but I do want to set the stage just a little bit. And, you know, with this team, when you look at what the Cavs did, they flipped one of their assets. Mm-hmm. You think about this. Think about how much people cried when Bruce Brown and Luke Kennard were traded. The positive here with Troy Weaver is that he has stacked so much more talent through the draft that trading one of those guys isn't like a gut. You know, it's not like pulling your guts out. You know what I'm saying? Like, you remember how much people were like, oh, my God, Bruce Brown, Luke Kennard, why would we trade that guy for Sadiq Bey for this? Oh, my goodness.
What up, though, Petey Mac? Thanks for coming in, brother. We love you.
What's good, brother? You know what I'm saying? It's just like this team has the assets to be able to flip some of these players, but it may take one of our beloved to get it done.
Mm-hmm. It will take one of our beloved. That's just how it works.
There you go.
Unfortunately, it's a matter of who.
I know, and that's what
I wanted to make it a little bit tougher than that, because I don't believe it's just going to be a straight up signing necessarily that gets it done. Because we have to convince somebody.
Troy Weaver
already talked about it.
Troy Weaver said he loves trades. Any way he can get a player, he'll get it.
Guys, can I just say what we're all thinking? How good of a player is it going to have to be if we have to trade away Sadiq Bey?
It's going to be.
I'm sorry, man.
Sadiq is the first person that popped in my mind, and I'm like, but it's facts.
It's the uncomfortable truth that he is the first person we all think of good players that a team would want in a trade.
Or it's a combination of Isaiah Stewart. It depends on how well these guys develop. Like, if Killian Hayes can develop into a competent backup point guard, then he'll probably be a guy that people want on their team. But
yeah.
It's going to be a combination of players probably, and Sadiq Bey could be one of them, I guess. I'm afraid.
Because you got to think about the players of value that would bring in a good enough return without us having to go and strip more off of what we're calling the restoration. I don't know if we have any other player. Obviously, Cade is an absolute untouchable.
We do.
Ooh, then let's get Steven.
Jaden Ivey.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I think
To
there's
me-
only one trade where this is possible, though, and that's
Ooh.
SGA. I don't want to like jump the gun, but I think SGA is the trade. If like
Steve is out here
something
starting
happens.
fires by just striking 2 rocks together, bro.
I love it, man.
Wait, are you
I'm-
saying
Ooh.
Ivy and Sadiq?
I don't think Sadiq goes in. I think Ivy is enough because
Okay.
Sadiq's not a creator. That's the thing. Like he would really have to show that he can play make a lot more for him to have that kind of a
That's it.
worth. And with Chet out, like the Oklahoma City is going to suck even more. And who knows how long Shea wants to be there to just be stuck doing almost nothing, right? Like it's going to happen. I'd feel like no matter what. And again, Ivy can be the guard that comes in to replace him that has creation ability. There's been the Russell Westbrook comps, even though I don't agree with it. I spent a lot of time, been spending a lot of time too, re-looking at the film and stuff. But I think he's the one that actually has that worth. And it would suck like year one to already deal him, but SGA, I think.
An
would be, like, the
SGA
only
Cade
one.
backcourt. Jesus
Oh my
Christ.
god, man.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I'm so like part of my Jesus. But in all like here's the thing, man. Like we're even like I was even talking like with my chat earlier this week.
Man.
Another player that was thrown out there as like a potential trade piece. You know, a guy that like we could target. Jaylen Brown for the Boston Celtics. A couple years, has a contract that's expiring. You know, currently, you know, hasn't been super committal to talking extensions. You know, obviously there's the reports of him being in trade discussions. You know, with the Brooklyn Nets, he could potentially want to take on a bigger role. You know, Detroit could be one of those teams in the next couple of years that could potentially have the type of team and roster to support, to have a Jaylen Brown. And I asked in the chat, would you trade Sadiq Bey for Jaylen Brown? My chat said 65-35 no, which I think is interesting. I think some of it is the fact that like I just think a lot of people are really high on Sadiq. Now, here's what I will say. I also had people in that chat say that they think that Sadiq will be better than Cade, and that's a hell no. As much as I love Sadiq, that's just, you know, what, like there's just not many Cades in the NBA. More guys like Sadiq come out every year. That's just the way that it is. But you know, I think ultimately the thing is that for one, I think we all can agree it has to be the right trade. It has to be a trade that makes sense, but also again, talking about like what needs to happen before we get there. We talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers as like a team that we're remodeling, like their rebuild, like they took a type of jump. That's why they went and got Donovan Mitchell, right?
Yep.
Let's even look like a year or two before that. The Phoenix Suns, they went and added Chris Paul. And the reason why they did it is because in 2020, even though they still didn't make the playoffs, they went to the bubble. They went on a 9-game win streak. Devin Booker showed that he was taking the next step as a player, that he was ready to go and play in winning basketball. Like even someone said, I believe it was even Charles, he said, what would need to happen is he need to see that Cade is ready to win is ready to play playoff basketball. And I think that's a good point. Like you have to see, in my opinion, this year, not only like obviously you need to see an increase in the win total, but like you need to see that an identity is established. You need to see that this is what our team's identity is. This is the culture we're building, because if you don't have that established, you're not ready to bring in a star. You're just not.
Yeah. The identity was set. They just need to make sure that they have the right players to fit that identity.
Exactly.
The identity was set as soon as we saw the Marvin Bagley trade happen, and we saw spacing and pick and rolls and lobs, and we saw Cade's game and everybody's game, even Killian's game.
I think we just need to see the continuation of that, though. You know what I mean? I think that's where it's like we saw the beginnings of that identity to show this past season.
And these players grow in that identity.
Yeah, exactly. Can they grow into it? But also, for a lack of better terms, was that for real? That's the other thing we have to see this year too. They have to show that that was legit.
Mm-hmm. Marvin Bagley is the interesting one here. He's the interesting one. Can he play more like the number 2 pick? Or is he just going to continue to play in a role that a lot of us as Pistons fans last year said, you know what? He looks pretty good. But we're all, any of us on this panel, like, if that's all we get forever from Marvin Bagley, we're okay with that. Because I'm not necessarily okay with it. When we got Marvin Bagley, I did not believe it was just to see what we could squeeze. And when you sign him, even though it's not a crazy big contract, you still want to see this guy take necessary steps forward. He's a guy who is, by his own admission, saying, I haven't really gotten much of a chance. So now that you have this opportunity and this chance on a team that we say center-wise, big man-wise, there's a lot of opportunity there. I want to see Marvin Bagley go out there and absolutely own, man. I want to see him really grow into that position. See, a lot of the other guys we're talking about, we're hoping that they take their natural progressions forward. Whereas
Right.
Marvin Bagley is the player who he just needs to come out here and prove that he is more the number 2 than somebody who's going through growing pains like Isaiah Stewart, who's only in year 3 or going into year 3. So he's a very, very key guy, but that was the blueprint. Just how well it worked with Cade and meshed with the other ball handlers. Adding a guy like Jaden Ivey and another guy like Jalen Duren, who's shown he can even make some good interior passes. I like where the team is headed. They just have to make sure they have the right pieces to run this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think that's the other part of it too. Like we're talking about this year, like how, it's not just like how Carl mentioned earlier, like the Pistons, like Rob Murphy said in that Pistons Pulse interview with, which by the way, shout out to Bryce, shout out to Amari, what those guys are doing. We love those guys. But in addition, he talked about how the Pistons still aren't looking at this year entirely based off of wins and losses. And again, like this last year, it was figuring out some of who belongs and who doesn't. And I think on the bench unit, I think we got a lot of those answers. But I think I think what Rod was alluding to, and I think what this season's going to be about, it sounds like we're going to be figuring out who our starters are this year. And that's going to be really interesting to see. So
how does it shake out, Lexi?
What was that? Sorry, I was writing an email.
How does the starters shake out then? If this is the year, how do people see it? Because I'm telling you, Mike Curtis actually believes that Isaiah Livers is going to be a starter come season's end.
I absolutely think he has like the ability to do that, and I am very sure that it's going to happen, especially like in that, just like with the shooting guard that he can be. It's going to be so great. I don't know if he's going to do like a power forward, small forward, whatnot, but yeah, I'm excited for it. I think that if he can be in the lineup, that will just prove that things are going to be good. Sorry, I was like I have a lot going on with work and my real job right now, so there's just.
Lexi, how dare you have a life and think, gosh, the nerve.
How dare you give us your time?
Lexi, we're just glad you're here, man. Come on now.
I know. It was like a 911 type email about it. So I'm like, oh God.
No, you're good. We just asked you at the worst time. That's on us.
No, it's on me not paying attention, my bad guys. But no, yeah, I just am excited though. And I think as Isaiah will be in the starting 5 this year, maybe not right away. But I think that by the end of the year, these starters are going to have a great chemistry, and it's going to be the young core that's going to kind of surprise a lot of people. So I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
Steve.
Now, go ahead, Steve.
No, just ask them as well. What's you guys? What's the lineup at the end of the year? And we asked Rod and Mike this. Their lineups were pretty dope. And Rod's was surprising because he just totally believes that 1 or 2 Pistons are not going to be here.
Yeah.
Man.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Steve, what are you thinking, man? What's that lineup for you?
At the end of the year?
Yeah, what do you think it's going to shake out to be?
I think it's still Ivy and Cade, and then Sadiq's one of the forwards. Livers probably has to do it. I mean, if they want consistent spacing, Livers is like a Robert Ory type of guy, right? Like he's not going to score a lot of points.
Oh, that's a great one, Steve.
I know, but don't compare my guy Livers. Come on.
Big shot, Bob.
He totally went to like one of our favorites, to the person that caused us childhood trauma.
But we want a Robert Ory. That's my point. We want a Robert Ory.
Yes, we do.
Him on the team.
I'll admit it, but it just
100%. Every team no, Steve. Talking basketball. If we're just talking strictly hoops, every damn team in the league wants a Robert Ory.
Absolutely.
If you're talking Piston fans, then chuck them to the moon.
I know.
Well, that was the same in high school and college, though.
If there's one shot we could all go back and change, that's that one right there.
No, I still feel it.
Yeah.
He does remind me of that because you leave him open and it's going to be hit every time. So you don't ever want to
leave him open. He had like 40% every year at Michigan because I was there all the years he was there watching it.
Can I say what's really ironic, by the way? So I watched, that was the first finals like I really like watched the entirety of when I was a kid. And it's funny because the theme song of that finals was "This is how a heart breaks," and it was great because it was truly my first life lesson of what a heartbreak was watching that finals and watching how it all went down.
Yeah.
My brother literally cried so hard and for so long that he was up throwing up in the bathroom from crying so hard.
Yeah. I threw kind of a tantrum. I think I was like a junior in high school. But
I
I
was
was
8.
pissed. It was similar to the playoff loss. I think I put like a hole in my door at one point. It was like bad.
I
Yeah.
think
It
all
was
of
just-
us did, man. All of us.
I
had
just
to be
want to
like
hate. I just
comfortable
hate
with that
I hated San Antonio so much. Like just
Mhm.
and the hatred is like still there. Like I know that it's not really like they're not the same team they were back then, you know, but there's just something I'm just never gonna forgive.
Steve, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So in your lineup, you brought up how Livers, like for the sake of the spacing, and to be honest, like I think I agree with you. I think as of right now, like that would probably be the better lineup. However, I know one thing that Isaiah Stewart's been open about is how he went to summer league to work on playing power forward. I know he's been working on stretching his 3-point game. I know a lot of people in the Pistons Twitter space have become very confident in his shot over the course of the last few months. I know a lot of us here were confident in it before summer league, but I want to ask you, what would it take for that lineup to be Stewart at the 4 and Duren at the 5? And do you think if they don't end up doing that this year, then they just don't end up doing it at all? Or do you think Isaiah Stewart would just still have to grow in order for him to be that 4 spot? Does that make sense?
I think the Duren and Stu thing has nothing to do with Stewart. I think he's going to be fine. I think at the very least, he's like 6th man of the year, new school Corliss Williams type of dude off the bench, always that's there that makes things happen, right? Maybe the defensive version of Corliss Williams. Corliss wasn't that guy on defense.
Maybe if that's not how they start the game, that doesn't mean that's not how they finish the game.
Yeah,
too, right?
exactly. But Duren, I mean, he would have to be exceptional for a rookie center. Rookie centers always suck. Go back and look at like Dwight Howard's rookie year. It's like Shaq and Hakeem, David Robinson, the absolute Hall of Famers that are the exception to the rule. So your
lineup was Livers at the 4 and Stewart at the 5.
Yeah, I think that's it. Because like, I don't know if Noel stays here all year. I don't even know how many minutes he gets. Kelly Olynyk's not a starter. Sorry, KO. Bagley, like he's just too much of a sieve on defense. Like he would have to do a complete 180 there in order for him to get time at center. Especially if Livers is going to be the 4. He's solid positionally, but like Livers, Bagley, Joel Embiid is already smiling and laughing maniacally somewhere, as is Giannis. Even somebody like Vooch would just like eat him up at that point. So I think, you know, Stu's got to be the center because the other options, and Duren would have to be like exceptional. And he's still super raw. I do anticipate he's going to spend some time in the G League, but he's also going to spend a lot of times catching lobs. I think he's going to be Cade's favorite teammate down the line, to be honest.
Yeah,
bro, that's a great take.
Yeah, it is a great take, man.
Man.
Yeah, for sure. And like, you know, the beauty of it really is that they really can go multiple different avenues. And I really am, to be honest with you, man, I just can't stop coming back to that reality that Rod thing or that Rod thinks that a couple guys won't be here. So I guess I want to end the show. I want to end the show by ripping off a Band-Aid and start talking about that elephant in the room. If you were to guess what 2 players on the team, or what 1 or 2 players on this team, if we were to make a superlative of most likely out the door, who do you think it is and why?
I think we all agree Sadiq is definitely one.
I don't think
Ivy.
he's
I'm just
most
like,
likely.
man, is it Ivy? Like, what's
Listen, when I'm saying most likely out the door, in my opinion, listen, I'm sorry, man. I know I was just saying that, like, I don't want to seem like listen, I'm sorry, it's Killian. Like I'm just sorry, but like in my opinion, like maybe not, like maybe
What,
not
do you
even
mean
this
someone
year.
traded for an
Right.
asset, or do you mean somebody who
So
out the door
here's the thing.
because they
Here's
haven't
the
met the
So here's the
standard?
thing. In my opinion, at some point, if we want to get better at the backup point guard spot, I think if Killian can show he's NBA level at scoring, I think then maybe it's a different discussion. But let's say he's like a little bit more of the same of Killian we saw this year, right? Flat out, we need a better backup point guard. We just do. We need someone that can actually create some offense. Someone like a Lindsey Hunter who could come in.
Oh, you're going with the easier stuff. I thought you were saying the harder stuff. What?
Oh, we can get to the harder stuff in a second. I'm just starting easy.
Okay.
I'm like, all right, most likely.
Okay.
Again.
Okay. We got the kindling in there.
But like, yeah, we're just starting with like the basis of listen. Here's the reality of like if we're talking about like what are moves that instantly make us better, if we're looking to win now, where are areas we got to improve. If we're looking to be in a playoff situation the following season, I'm sorry, if Killian doesn't improve, we need a better backup point guard. That's just the way it is, man. Like even the Suns, Chris Paul's backup is Cameron Payne, right? Like there's going to be guys on the market. There's going to be players out there that are available, guys who can create their own baskets. But like, that's just the reality of it, man. Like you need, like if you're going to have a really good like point guard, you need someone that's not going to, where the offensive load is going to drastically fall off when he's off the court. That's just what it is. But if we're getting, if we are getting spicy, then yeah, man. I mean, listen, if we are making a big upgrade or like a big type of move this year, I definitely think Sadiq is one that can be on there. I'm not gonna lie. Like if there is a world where if Detroit needs to make a move for salary purposes, I don't know if Marvin Bagley is going to be here all 3 years. I don't know if his contract's going to be the most tradable, but if he shows improvement, why wouldn't that be a trade chip? I mean, is that front court not looking pretty loaded right now?
Yeah, that's where I was going with, for what you're speaking in terms of which player, if they don't do something, it's going to be out of here. Yeah, Killian is the guy. His contract decisions in the next few years or whatever, I don't know, man. There are things that I'm just not necessarily comfortable with. But in terms of Marvin Bagley, a lot of the points that we brought up, I think we all want him to be, here long term. But the defensive liability, how much more is his ceiling? Like, how much better can he really get? I would not be surprised if he was somebody that the Pistons were able to flip on the high side. If he's, having a good stretch first half of the season, I wouldn't be surprised. And I don't know how much it hurts the Pistons development wise. Obviously, I think that's going to be more dependent on what Duren is showing us. But if Duren actually shows that he is by midseason able to kind of take those minutes, I would not be surprised if they said, you know what, let's move away from one of these bigs, because they got themselves a good stable of young bigs and young guards, 3-4 deep at both spots where they can make some decisions for the long term.
To me personally, though, like when I'm just looking at like specifically like, like one of those bigs, you're definitely right. I will say, even like not even just like from a fan, just if you're looking at like the culture they're building and like the players that they're bringing into the building, I just have a very hard time seeing the Pistons moving Isaiah Stewart in a trade package unless like they truly had to, right? Like to me, he just, when you're talking about building like players that are like the heart and soul of the culture in the program that you're trying to build, Isaiah Livers is like one of those guys. It's like the Warriors system where like once you see Draymond Green's out of the lineup, they look like a shell of themselves, right? Like it's not because he's like the best player on the team, but it's because he's arguably the most important player on that team and like the backbone of like a lot of the gritty things that the Warriors do. So like in my opinion, like Isaiah Stewart, like his intensity, everything he represents, just how he plays on the court is like just how like he just, to me, he's like the epitome of like a Troy Weaver guy and what this Pistons restoration represents. That's just me.
I 100% agree with that. Beef Stew is the one who I could see being very, very attractive to other teams. And so I wouldn't be surprised. But he's probably the one out of all that I'm just like, yo, he just...
It would have to be a damn good package. Like that's the only way I see Beef Stew. Like other guys, it's like, okay, I can see that happening. But like Beef Stew, it's like Troy Weaver would have to love what he's getting back in order to trade Isaiah Stewart.
Yeah. Hey, Carl, Steve, man, you guys have any input?
Again, I think it's I can't see them making it. I just don't feel like this is the year to make that kind of move. But if Troy decided let's accelerate this process, it might be Sadiq Bey for me. Yeah, unfortunately.
But here's the thing, though. Like I do want to point out, and I'm not saying that. I'm not saying Rod has any information. I'm not saying he hasn't. Like I'm not saying this was something he was told or anything, because this is something I'm hearing about like for the first time along with you guys. You know what I mean? But here's what I will say. I know a guy like Rod isn't just going to throw out something there like that just because he's having a wild guess. Like, you would have to think, like, for one, with his experience of being around the team for a number of years, but also with how plugged in he has been.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, when there's smoke, there's fire. So when someone's saying something like that, it's not a completely uneducated guess.
How many people has Troy traded a year since he's been here?
Like maybe like one or two, or like two or three.
I think it's been more like two or three a year.
Yeah.
I mean, especially include the off season, it's way more.
Yeah.
But in season, you're right. He's made a trade at these deadlines, and if it wasn't at the deadline, we all knew the off season is about to be it's about to bang. Like, we knew when that trade deadline came and gone, and Jimmy Grant was still on the team. From that point, bro, I went on everything that I could, and I told y'all, wait till the draft. I'm telling y'all, wait till we get these 2 first-round picks. Y'all aren't going to be surprised if he winds up with 2 first-round picks. So yeah, I what Rob put out there was that, the way that Troy works, and effectively the way that this thing is trending cap-wise, don't be surprised. He does not. He firmly believes that there's going to be a couple players that are different on this team come trade deadline.
Yeah.
And I can see that, whether it be like you
I
say.
can see that. I mean, the thing about the whole reason for rebuilding is just to acquire talent. Whether you trade it, you end up trading it, or keeping it. I mean, this is the inevitable kind of thing to happen. To be honest.
Yeah. And I know Chuck just brought up, and it is a good point, and it is something to bring up, that Weaver hasn't traded anyone that he's drafted, which is true.
Yeah.
However, he has drafted guys he's signed. So like, it's not entirely like, he hasn't traded guys that like he brought in, but also generally speaking, the guys that you draft are going to be the last ones that you trade, because you want to have those guys in for the longest amount of time. You want to see the value that they're going to bring to the franchise. And ultimately you're not going to move on from them until you ultimately think have a true evaluation of where you think they stand as a player. I also just think, in fairness, Troy Weaver's only been in Detroit for 2 years now. So I think the other reason why is just because Troy Weaver probably just hasn't had much of an opportunity to. That's just the way this business works.
Sekou an extra year when everyone thought he might be getting broomed out. He gave Sekou that extra year just to see, hey, who do we have here? And with a guy like Killian Hayes, which was his very first draft pick, and we see why he wanted Killian Hayes. We just got to see if Killian sees why they wanted him. Give that a little bit of time to work itself out. But with the slot that he was drafted, I tell people this all the time. If Killian was drafted lower in the first round, maybe second round, I don't believe we're having these same types of conversations, because it doesn't hit the same. Like, what is does anybody know what his qualifying offer is going to be in a couple of years for Killian? Isn't it like $11 million a year or something like that?
Sounds about right.
Yeah, it's just like, you can't pay that for Killian Hayes, man.
Oh, hell no. Hell no. Listen, man, this is all love. I'm not even trying to be mean right now. But like, if Killian keeps playing like this, there's few teams that'll pay him the minimum. I'm serious. He might be a two-way player if he doesn't work out in Detroit.
Oh, goodness. And you know what? As much as I like Killian and I want to be able to try and defend and say, you know what, no, he'll get his head together. Look, I can't do that again, bro. Drummond left here, and he did not attain the positions that he had after, that he had with Detroit after. If Killian leaves here, I don't know what spot there is for him in this league. We've seen that with some other players too. They go, and all of a sudden they're not necessarily sticking. Stanley Johnson, even. A couple of these draft picks that we've had lately. So it's like with Killian, I believe that he has a little bit more talent than a lot of people credit for, but that guy got to get out of his own head.
Mm-hmm.
He just has. So you can't be the Incredible Hulk. That's what kills Killian Hayes, is that he's a type of player that's Incredible Hulk. You make him mad, all of a sudden he's doing things. It's like, wait. So do you need to work on it, or do you actually just need to go out there and play like, play basketball like a basketball player?
Right.
That's the thing that aggravates me about Killian so freaking much. Like, all of a sudden someone knock him down, he's limping around the court, and then he goes to the bench, comes back, and he's playing all mad and all this. It's just like, Killian, play that way all the flipping time, bro.
I do want to be fair.
Frustrating, man.
I do want to be fair that we still do, that Killian still does deserve this season to show like
sure.
where he's improved.
Well,
And
he's not played a full season ever. So,
First
you know,
full
Yeah,
offseason and season.
he hasn't. That's true, but he played enough games last year, Lexi. Like
Yeah.
I'm sorry, like he
I
only
just
missed.
want him to play a full season and build
Oh,
that
for sure.
confidence up.
For
Because
sure.
that's
Yeah.
lacking
He,
in all of this.
he
is
absolutely
confidence.
deserves and needs to play a full season. But if you look at like how many, like he really didn't miss that many games this last year. So like I think it's one of those things where, you know, obviously health is just going to be a factor with every player. It's always like, oh, if he could have just had more, you know, it's always like if he could have just had more time, if he could have just had more of this. Like sometimes, unfortunately, in this league, you don't get the luxury of that. You know what I mean?
This is the year though he has to prove it. I agree.
Oh,
with
for
you.
sure, 100%. This is, you know, in even like I know there's a lot of Killian apologists on Pistons Twitter. I know there's a lot of people that believe that Killian's in the positions that he's in because of Dwayne Casey, which that's a whole other can of worms for a whole other day, or that's just a dog shit take. But anyway, like the one true thing, like again with Killian is you know, he does have all these abilities and to your point, Kool-Aid, it's not a physical or talent thing with Killian. He has all these things where he can be really good or he already is really good. It's just those mental things, right? Like even with the quality of shots he's taking. Like even like he was even like one of the lower percentiles in the league in quality of shots at the rim. He was also one of the lower players in the league in quantity of shots at the rim. So it's just one of those things where again, you know, at the end of the day, you can't be a player that is in the 82nd percentile with the ball in your hands and bringing about 20 and bringing way less of an offensive load than a lot of those guys. You just can't.
Yeah, and to be fair,
dominant player that can't do anything with the ball with your own self. Like that's just the way it is.
And to be fair, we did look at his numbers. There was a couple stretches after he went to the bench, a really good stretch from Killian Hayes, where, you know, I don't want that to just peter out. I know that it's easy to look back now and just be like blah, but when he was going through that stretch of games, which doesn't pull his stats enough in a way for us to say it doesn't skew his stats up enough for us to be like, yeah, he had a good season. That stretch of games, he was really good. He was what we wanted to see out of him this season, but for a full season. What we wanted to see out of him at the beginning of last season, but for the full thing. So it's like, all right, I want to see that right out the gate. You know, we heard a couple of these guys. You know, I heard some of the Lions players state that. Like Amon-Ra St. Brown, he said, "Look, second half of the season, I got to learn. You know, I got a little bit better. My production went up, and I want that right out the gates this year. Killian needs to, in year 3, come right out the gates and just play basketball, man. All the stuff that he showed in that second half, come out the gates and just play that way, man. That's what it's about. And I see B-Ball Griot. It's not about being in Killian's head or heart or any of that nature, man. Look, bro, you play basketball, you see it. He's scared, man. You don't got to be anybody's mind. If you can go out there and play one way when you're mad and then play timidly all the other rest of it, bro, he's scared. And honestly, if Stan Van Gundy was here, he would probably state that. He would probably just say that. Like, yeah, he's scared. These are things that SVG, at least, I don't think that he should air those things out publicly, but he wasn't anybody afraid to state what was on his mind. And I'm not the only person, man. Like, look, we talk about this with other people who are covering these teams, people who are in the gyms and such, in the practices, and it's a confidence thing with him. He does need to learn to play this game, which helps with confidence. But again, it's still confidence. As we see Killian get confident, he forgets that he's playing American-style basketball. He just looks good. You know, I don't know what the bench did for him, and I want to start looking at those games a little bit more as we approach the season. But when he did move to the bench, he just looked like a different player. So I want to give him that credence. But if he don't get it together this year, man, what do you do? But move on.
Yeah, 100%, man. And, you know, at the end of the day, you know, these are just the realities that you have to face as an NBA general manager. Like when you're talking about like what players you want to keep in this franchise, what players you want to move on from, some of the things that are going to come down to like those decisions that are going to be made by Troy Weaver are going to be things that are very marginal and very incremental. You know what I mean? Like even if there are things that a lot of players can bring to the court, there's other guys in this league who might bring something that's even better. Right. So, you know, again, they're like Detroit is going to have over $60 million in cap space this next season. So they're not going to have to settle for anything that they don't think is good enough. So that's going to be the conversation. That's going to be what it is going forward. And again, these things are going to be way easier to talk about when we actually see some games, because at that point we'll actually be able to make some judgments, because then we'll have things that we can actually judge. For now, we do, obviously we do want to keep having these conversations. We would love to know what your thoughts are in the comments section down below. Also, we would love to know like any stars that you would love to see the Pistons go out and pursue. I know there's definitely guys on our list, and I'm sure we'll definitely be having more talks about that in the coming weeks. But guys, training camp is not far away, which means the preseason is not far away, which means the regular season is not far at all. And that means that you need to be subscribed to Woodward Pistons. That means that you need to be following each and every one of these people on this screen, because these are some of the best creators that we have in the Pistons Twitter space. My man Kool-Aid, if you could hide that comment just so we could show the Twitter handles and everything. So we obviously got Steve right down here. If you can follow Steve on Twitter at Burke Worldwide, we got at Go Blue Lexi 117 at Carl Collins Prod, and my man, the Godfather, Detroit Kool-Aid. Be sure you're following him as well, man.
Let's go.
Yeah. Also, be sure you're following the other guys that weren't here today, like Everything King, one of our regulars, a guy that we love. A guy like Downtown Deuce, a guy that we love very much, living that new father life. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we love that guy, man. We love that guy. But also, my guy Jeff Ifrady at Jeff Ifrady on Twitter. And hey, there's a pretty cool YouTube channel out there you might want to go check out. It's called From Half Court. And if I may add, by the way, Kool-Aid, I haven't been able to touch on this really since we did make this change. But From Half Court got buffed up. We got new branding. Yeah, man. So I just want to say shout out Naranjan, my social media manager. He's putting in a lot of work. He did a lot of amazing stuff. And this is our new logo. It looks so much better. It is night and day from what we've had before. So I'm absolutely thrilled. Our branding is in a different level. And yeah, man, I'm just absolutely excited. This season's going to be big for From Half Court, for Woodward Pistons, and for everyone on this panel. So be sure that you're in the know and tune in for everything we have going on, man. But with that, we want to thank you all so much for tuning in, being a loyal part and the other seat of the Woodward Pistons Table Talk. And we will catch you guys next week when it's time for us to sit around the table and talk again about the Detroit Pistons. Detroit basketball.
And we're getting close, guys. We are getting close. Look at your calendars. Look at when preseason basketball comes back. October 19th is about a month and a week away, a month and 10 days away, just about. So I'm getting excited, man. I'm already sitting here looking at the calendar every day, like, yo, are we there yet?
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Cannot wait.
Kanye West, bro. You gonna sing us out of here?
Oh, absolutely, man. Be sure you subscribe to that. Be sure you subscribe to that. Be sure you subscribe to that mother. Thank y'all, everybody.
Sean Murphy.
Oh,
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap, baby.